Kelvin，如果我翻去 KL 有工冇？
有幫補，
有工冇？揾到工
有
冇？
工肯定有
可以
工都會
揾食冇？
揾得到食，肯定
揾得到食。OK，
Yeah.
Thomas，我對現在有工冇？
Oh, sure.
更
Yeah.
是吧？
Sure way.
Welcome, folks, to another episode of the Curious Conversation. In today's episode, I have my two fellow guests that I've known for a while, and it's going to be an interesting one because you are going to see me in an environment that is probably very different and which I would say very much of my past. And you will observe that my language is slightly different as well. Most probably you see me speak more of the Malaysian language. As some of you that have known me for a bit, I am from Malaysia. I grew up in Malaysia. I'm now an American. As Kelvin pointed out, I am an ex-Malaysian. But it is hard to take a Malaysia away from a Malaysian. All right. So I've got Thomas and I've got Kelvin here with me. Both are fellow Agile coaches. They are in Malaysia. And today's topic, it's all about Agile in Malaysia. So welcome, Thomas. Welcome, Kelvin.
Hi, everyone.
Hi guys.
I'll go ahead and introduce myself. Right. I'm an agile coach in one of the multinational based in US, and currently I am based in Penang, Malaysia. That's kind of my short introduction.
Okay, so Thomas, I may have gotten this wrong. You are Penang Lang, correct?
Yes, I am.
So grew up in Penang, right? Went to KL for studies, and then went back and then working. So this interesting is Thomas worked for a multinational company based in Penang. And then we're going to go over to Kelvin.
Nice to meet you guys. This is Kelvin. All right. So first thing first, I'm a computer engineering graduate back in 10 years ago, right? Now I'm an agile coach to a multinational company that is in financial sector.
And Kelvin is in Kuala Lumpur, the capital city of Malaysia. So we got two folks, one from the island, Penang, and one from the main city, Kuala Lumpur. So I'm curious about how is Agile in Malaysia? What state is, where's it at? What's the journey like in Malaysia for Agile? So let's start that. I mean, how do you guys feel? Are there big demand in Malaysia? Are there people wanting to do Agile in Malaysia?
So I don't have much visibilities other than the northern states. So in northern states itself, especially in Penang states itself, I think there's this growing trend of the agile methodology, right? Mostly in the software sector, right? And I can see that there is this in demand. And if you just Google, right? Scrum Masters, the job availability, I think you can actually find that quite a bit compared with last couple of years before. You can hardly see Scrum Masters job opportunity if you were to Google it right now, right? In terms of the agile practice, I think in the software development sector, I think the people starts to move towards agile methodology compared with this previous known waterfall methodology, right? So other than that, I think it is other sectors. I think other areas, people are still using the PMI, PMP type of project management methodology. They're still there. But in a nutshell, the agile, especially agile Scrum methodology in managing software projects, I think the trend is actually growing.
Okay. What about you, Kelvin? What do you see in
KL? I do agree with Thomas on this point. Maybe to more emphasize on in KL, I would say, all right, not just happening in software industry, but also like, finance sector, they actually transitions from a very traditional way of running their projects into using agile way of running it. A sign for now is that there's a combination in between waterfall and agile kind of a situation for now. And companies that actually takes quite some time to actually figure it out, as in like, whether we should move towards that, or it actually like, we should still remain in a way to like, using PM, like the project management or the PMO to actually monitor the whole projects. And some companies, they are more ambitious, and their management teams that has the vision saying that, we want to release things in a smaller piece of things to our customer, get early feedbacks, fail fast, and we can do adaptations from that. That kind of company, especially like, more SME company, they really expanding, or I would say adopting agiles is in a faster pace compared to like corporate kind of bigger size of companies.
So like both of you work for multinational company, right? So big companies. Honest transparency, because I connected with Kelvin before he became a Scrum Master. I was selling Scrum Master to Kelvin. I was excited about Scrum and stuff like that. And I was like, Kelvin, come on, become a Scrum Master, right? And then Kelvin jumped on that journey. I was really worried about Kelvin for a little bit. I was like, my goodness, is Kelvin going to find a job? Is he going to be okay, right? But obviously I was wrong. I'm happy that I was wrong that today Kelvin is an agile coach, right? I'm excited to see that. So, tell me a little bit about that, the challenges.
So challenges, I would say, mindset switch.
Yeah.
For us, like Asians, from project management, very typical way of running projects in a old traditional way. We switch the mindset to a new way of working, which means like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, a short durations. We need to release certain things to our customer and get feedbacks, right? So that mindset switch is a challenge back then for me, and I did overcome that to say that actually we get early feedback. It's actually helping us to inspire and adapt accordingly regularly, right? So that is helping us to improve and refine what is the market actually needs for now, which is good things to me. So slowly I get to switch the mindset and start to embrace that and start to change how we should actually run projects, or how we actually influence more people to have that mindset and work as a team and can deliver it in a faster pace, or I would say in a better quality to our customer.
So both of you mentioned something for me very interesting, right? Both of you used the word project, right? And Thomas, you mentioned, hey, it was traditional project management, and then people are looking into agile as a new way of project management.
That is a challenge, common challenge that we are facing in Malaysia. Especially like the management would like to use that as a tools, the agile mindset as tools to actually to deliver the project in a faster pace, and micromanage in a way, right? So it really depends on the maturity of the organizations. I do work with companies that actually they are quite into product management. So those companies, although we will say it's a joint venture companies, or I would say it's a US or UK based company, but all the development team, or I would say the Scrum teams, is actually based in Malaysia, inclusive the product owner. So in that case, it's considered as a local team, right? So having a local team, when we deliver the product, then the mindset is very important. Educating the team, influencing the team to change, to switch, to convert from a typical product management way, or say the project management way, the traditional way of working, into the agile way of working, running iteratively and deliver things incrementally. That is something I would say I enjoy the journey, educating people to that. But I would say back to the questions, the main question is that is the challenge that we are actually currently facing. And it really depends on how big the organization it is. Like a corporate, huge, big company, they usually, the transition, they will take a longer time. Maybe it's not talking about half year, 1 year, it's talking about 3 years, 5 years. that transition period could be the pain point to a lot of people that actually involve it. Like, we don't know we are actually black or white.
To be on top of what Kelvin has mentioned, right, especially in terms of the mindset itself, I think that the key is the change of mindsets, right? And as Richard, you also mentioned about, you caught the words of project management, right? So I think the mindset still has not fully switched, right? From project management to a product management, right? Which is Agile Scrums is actually talking about, right? So in terms of the mindset itself, I think there is this organization transitions, right? Or transformations need to happen from, I would categorize as previously it's like a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, right? And the professors that popularized this growth mindsets was, I think, Carol Dweck's, right? There's a lot of talks in the YouTube itself. So there has to be a change in mindsets in the people, not only the team itself, but also the layers of managements, right? The first line managements, I think at this moment, I think their mindset is actually there. They are switching it to seeing as a product. But now I think the next level of management, right, the middle and the top management, right, need to also see it as, it has to change. It's changed from project program management to a product management itself, right? What are the products that we want to deliver, and what does our customers want from us of these products that we are providing, right? It could be a service, it could be a software, right? And from that perspective, I think that will kind of transform the whole journey from traditional project program management to an agile Scrum product management itself.
Tell me about the market in Malaysia in terms of learning, right? When people hire, I'm assuming they look for certification. Is that true?
Yes, they will look for the minimum requirement, which is the certifications.
What about Agile Coach? They look for certification if you're, Agile Coach. Is that just a experience number of years?
Number of years of experience, in my view. And if they would like to get someone that is more senior, then they might look into like whether they are certified coach.
Thomas, what do you see?
When I go through my interview that time, the interviewers actually looking for both, right? My experience itself as well as the trainings that I have went through itself. Not only in terms of know the Scrum practices itself, but then also some extent of how to scale up the Scrum practices as well to manage a bigger or more complex products.
Okay, so I think in Malaysia, so my memory of Malaysia, right, is when I had to go to Malaysia, had to talk about Agile and things like that. Talking to folks that are in Malaysia, I discovered that there was back then, right, and it is a long time ago, a couple more years ago, was that there was only one trainer that was serving Southeast Asia, and there's this one guy running around Southeast Asia. It was doing, I think it's like covering Australia, Singapore. I think he's based in Singapore, I believe, but he's Australian, I think. And then I can't remember his name, but he was covering that, right? He was only one guy coming with the CSC, Certified Scrum Trainer, right? So what is it like today now? I mean, can we find like different people, or are Malaysians all trained by the same trainer? Maybe that's the question.
For now, what I know is that we have more options.
Okay.
Right now, so I think we have around four them. Around these 8 regions. One is from Australia still, and Indonesia. That's one.
Yeah, that's right, Indonesia. Yeah.
There's another one from India.
Okay. So is it mainly in KL only? Can we get training in Penang?
No, they provide more than just training physically, but also with virtually. So some of my colleagues, they actually attended for virtual
stuff.
class.
Okay.
Yeah, they also offer for the physical class as well.
Okay, so they have physical class as well. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I know of one trainer based in Penang itself. So he don't have a regular scheduled classes, but then he only go for like in-tech classes, right? So that's one trainer, and he do provide trainings with India to India's folks as well. So sometimes, before the COVID, he actually flew to India to provide training as well.
Okay, so I think the pandemic creates almost like a level playing field for all and everybody, regardless of where you are. You're not able to take training anywhere and things like that. But the challenge is always time zone, right? Finding the one that fits your time, right? So I think for me, my journey in such that during the pandemic, I was able to continue on my learning journey, and I took my certification and training with online trainers that do that. And it was interesting to watch the switch. So I would assume then for you guys in Malaysia, right? For all of you in Malaysia, then would that be where you would want to go?
People would still prefer a local trainer because of it could be the examples that the trainer could use will be more localized. And then people are able to relate and comprehend the concepts much better itself.
It's really depending on the trainer's material and the examples and how practical it is in the classes. I would say is that time zone is not really a blockers to people like the Malaysians to really take for virtual class, which need to like wake up in the early of the morning or even in the mid of the night to attend for the class. Yeah, I do have a friend that actually he's quite okay with a trainer in Australia. So he actually attended the class. It's around 2 a.m. in Malaysia.
Wow.
So that is something really...
That's commitment.
True.
Talking about that, I just attended from my 9 p.m. to the next day of 5:30 a.m.
Wow.
For 2 consecutive days. The first day was okay, but when it comes to the second day, towards like after 3:30 a.m., the brain doesn't function anymore.
So I remember the first morning when I was working with the Malaysian folks it was very quiet. I just from the US, of course, it was English. In the morning, we're talking about using Microsoft Project for tracking work back then. Right? My initial work first thing. Early morning. It was very quiet. The room, people just, not talking, right? Very, I would say, courteous. All on their best behavior, okay? All best behavior, right? And then we go to lunch. At lunchtime, they discovered that, Richard is Malaysian. He speaks, he can understand the local language things. And right after that, oh my goodness, it's like full participation at that point. It's like everybody's just... I would say the noise level went up. Everybody's more relaxed and chit chat and things like that. You can hear laughter, things like that, right? So I think that's a component. I think you guys both indicated that. I think for Malaysia, there is a localization of it, is to understand the culture, to understand what's going on, and I think that's key. I guess that's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I think Richard, you highlight a point whereby the connections. And then in terms of, getting the participants to feel psychological safe environment where they can actually openly have that conversations with the trainers, I think is way much faster for a local versus, people who don't know the culture.
All right. So it's this concept, right? Richard Amor Ayah. Western are more, they don't know what we think, right? They don't know how we think, right? So, of course, it worked in a more country, right? Of course, it worked in the Western country, right? Because it all came from Western world, right? So, Agile in Malaysia, How does it work? Right? How do we see it? Is there a clash?
When you look at culture, right, there is this country culture, and there's also organization culture, right? And if the organization culture is suitable for, flatter and then more suitable for agile, right? Then I think it will be much easier for the organizations to adapt to that. In general, I think Malaysia culture itself, I think there may be some challenges in terms of it's an Asian culture where people tend to be more hierarchical, right? And versus like your managers could be just part of the team itself, right? You treat a manager normally in Asian culture. A manager is like your superiors. There's kind of different level of treatments, right? Versus Americans, right? And if your American companies, the culture have shift, right? And then there could be a different mindsets again, right? And the culture itself.
In my opinion, I would say it's more on to people still very relying on their managers to come up with, to answer them, to help them to answer the how I want to do the things, right? So instead, in Agile, we are actually empower them to answer the how, whereby the leaders is actually answering why and what, right? So that could be a difficult challenge for Asians to switch their mindset, because we used to have that culture. The country culture is that we have leaders, we have managers, but they are the one that tell us how, right? So that could be something we need to really break through that. But I can see from my previous companies that even people, they are tend to be like very fixed mindset, but they tend to start to do, or they are actually into doing agile. So agile, there's two parts of it, right? Being agile and doing agile. So people is okay, or they are more comfortable to start with doing it, like introducing tooling, collaboration tools and processes, get them to be familiar with how agile actually works. Then slowly we get them to onboard onto being agile, how we switch their mindset from one to another. So I would say there's potentials. It won't be like just like that's the peak. Asians culture cannot. No, it's still growing, I would say.
So I think there's a benefit, right? So what I see benefit is this, right? The Asian culture is such that because of the hierarchy, right? So I think remember back a while ago, there's a company called Zappo, right? Zappo decided to go agile, and the way they do it is like they pull the bandit. They said, tomorrow we're going agile. If you don't like agile, leave the company. Right? If you don't understand agile, you don't want to do agile, go leave the company, right? So a lot of people in the agile was like, whoa, we can't do that. Agile is about people volunteering. Agile was people coming together, working there. So it's like, okay, I think there's a benefit, right? So if I would say the company in Asia, like having the Laopan mentality, Laopan says, okay, you are going to go agile. I think we have less chaos, less questioning. Maybe I think maybe there are questions, but it's not as much as I would say in the Western world. I would say in the US, I think we always question everything. We're free to question, free to ask. So as a manager, 好痛啊, okay, headache or everything, got to deal with that, right? So maybe I think that's a benefit, right? Maybe in Asia is that yes, we see where the company is going. We will try to understand as an employee. We will try to understand. We'll try our best to follow along. I think maybe it could be a much faster adoption, like you said, Kelvin, to go do first and then get the why and then to being, right?
I agree on that. The point of view, right, from both of you, right? So the hierarchical or the culture itself, I think getting to the doing, the agile, people are practicing, the ceremonies, like scrums, right? Following the scrum ceremonies, the artifacts and so on. I think that is much easier. but then we need to continue the transformation journey from doing agile to being agile, and that could face some challenges, especially when it comes to self-organizing. Teams do self-organizing, right? There is a tendency of the team still look for some answers from their manager itself. Okay, what is the decision, right? But then that's where the managers need to be trained to kind of give a coaching instead of giving directions, and that's where the whole team and the organization itself can go through that transformation itself, right? If the manager continue to kind of give answers without changing the approach to coaching approach, then it will be quite challenging to transform from doing agile to being agile.
Yeah. So what's interesting is this, is throughout this conversation, right? I think the things that you guys are highlighting is actually the same problem that we have in the US, right? The same problem, right? So it's I'm starting to see that it's actually nothing to do with the culture, nothing to do with location.
I think it's going to change. I believe so. Especially I think most probably it's going to be driven by the multinationals, and once that's kind of things starts to grow, and then there will be a point, right? There will be a tipping point. Once it tips, then I think it will grow much faster.
I would say Agile is still growing, and growing in the sense that it's rapidly growing in Asia, right?
Okay.
Most importantly, it's not about the culture things. It's about how fast we want to get the feedbacks, how fast we want to release the things, the deliverables to the market, and get early feedback from the stakeholders or from the customers, right? So that is the things that actually driving us to adapt, or I would say to the agiles to expand more, to growing in that sense. So it won't die to me. So it will definitely growing.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thomas, closing thoughts.
I think this is a very good diverse conversations where we have two countries, right? And both of you are from Malaysians, but then I always have a perspective or saying that the Americans are more towards agile, but then towards the end of the conversations, when we talk about culture-wise, hey, in fact, the country cultures doesn't really impact. It's more of the organization culture itself, right? That could be the impediments versus the country culture itself, and that's actually changed the whole perspective of things. And also hearing from Kelvin, right, coming from supporting this financial company and applying agile in a financial versus on software itself. I do read through some background on why Jeff Sunderland and Ken, right, change and updates the Scrum guides up to in 2020, right? They wanted to expand that to non-software developments of IT, and it's good that I'm actually seeing a real case from Kelvin itself. So this whole conversation really enriched me, and I believe that I am actually in the right journey to kind of help Malaysia itself to go through this agile transformation itself. So wonderful.
Awesome. Well, all right. So thank you, both of you. Thank you for coming along on my journey, on my trying to learn. So hopefully for the viewers out there, that you can pick up something from our conversation. Again, I would say I will close with this, CLS, comment, like, subscribe. If you'd like to see more of this content, let us know. If you'd like to see more questions for Thomas, for Kelvin, do show, put it in a comment. I'm going to leave the LinkedIn connection to both of them in the description in the video
just
below.
One comment, right? So if you go to my LinkedIn is not up to date. I'm putting some efforts to update that. It may take some time. So just look at the latest one. Before that, I think I have a couple of roles with the same company itself, but it's changing from system analysts, IC, technical IC roles, right? Individual contributors to people manager, and then finally to the agile practitioners and then agile coach.
Yeah,
So,
good call out. So for those of folks that are looking to find connection in Asia, in Malaysia, what I do find is that most folks in Asia do not, they don't tend to use LinkedIn that often.